Everyone in the office building laughed at the janitor that morning. They mocked his uniform. They mocked his job. What they didn't know was that the man holding the mop was the CEO of the entire company. And in a few minutes, they were about to find out. The marble floor of the office lobby was quiet that morning, the kind of quiet that exists before an expensive building wakes up. Outside the tall glass windows, the city was already alive. Cars moved slowly through traffic. People hurried toward their offices with coffee in their hands. But inside the building, it was just me. I pushed the mop slowly across the polished floor, back and forth. The water moved in smooth lines across the marble. I liked mornings like this, peaceful, calm, simple. But that peace never lasted long. Soon the glass doors opened. Employees began walking in. Expensive suits, shiny shoes, confident voices. One of them glanced at me and laughed quietly. Man, imagine being this old and still cleaning floors. Another employee whispered something to his friend. They both looked at me and smirked. I didn't react. I simply leaned back slightly on the mop handle and watched them walk toward the elevators. People always assume things when they see a uniform. They assume your story, your life, your worth. But assumptions are strange things. They say more about the person judging than the person being judged. I dipped the mop back into the bucket. The water rippled again. Just then, the glass doors opened quickly. More employees rushed inside. This time, the energy felt different, nervous, excited. One woman walked past me quickly and said, "Big meeting today." Another employee answered, "The CEO is visiting." Suddenly, everyone started fixing their jackets, straightening their ties, checking their reflections in the glass. Everyone wanted to impress the CEO. Everyone wanted to be noticed. I quietly pushed the mop across the floor one last time. Then I rolled the bucket toward the storage room. As I walked away, I could hear employees whispering in the lobby. "Have you ever seen the CEO?" "No. I heard he's very strict. I heard he's a genius." I smiled slightly. Then I placed the mop carefully against the wall, took a slow breath, and walked toward the conference room. Inside the room, the long table was already full. Executives, managers, directors, all waiting for the CEO. When I stepped inside, several people looked confused. One man even stood up halfway. "Sir, this meeting is private." But I kept walking, slowly, calmly. I walked all the way to the head of the table. Then I removed the cleaning gloves from my hands and placed them gently on the table. The room went completely silent. One of the managers slowly pushed his chair back. Another stared at the table like he suddenly forgot how to speak. The same employee who mocked me earlier couldn't even look in my direction. I leaned back in the chair, not angry, not proud, just calm. One woman finally spoke softly. "Sir, we didn't realize." I nodded. "I know." The man who laughed earlier cleared his throat. His voice was much quieter now. "Why were you cleaning the floors?" I looked around the room. Then I said, "Because I like to remember where I started." Nobody spoke. The room was completely still. But this time, it wasn't the quiet of an empty building. It was the quiet of people realizing they judged someone they didn't understand. I smiled slightly and said one last thing. Respect should never depend on someone's job. Because sometimes the person holding the mop is the one who owns the building.